The Guardians turn to one of their top prospects to help them win in the desert. Should they turn to another one to help them win this year and next year? You're going to want to stick around for this one.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into a Friday episode of Locked On Guardians, or whatever day it is you happen to be listening, because we're here every day with you. We hope it's a good one regardless of when you're listening, and it's a good half hour because we're talking Cleveland Guardians for the next half hour, and we do it every single day. Cover the majors, the minors, the draft, everything in between on your Cleveland Guardians as part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Justin Lada. I have been co-hosting this podcast with my friend and co-host Jeff Ellis since October of 2022. And I spent the last 18 years covering the Guardians minor league farm system for various sites and outlets, currently the News Herald, the Morning Journal, Substack, and Prospects Live, and a flurry of other places.
I am friend to no one. No, I'm kidding. I am Jeff Ellis. That's who I am. Over here. I've been here since Locked On expanded into baseball. One of the very first people that they brought in when they decided it was time to talk baseball. Before that, I was a longtime writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects and the draft. I want to thank each and every one of our everydayers for joining us each and every day. I didn't pull up today. At the end of the show, I'll see who YouTube highlighted as the 5 commenters of the week on YouTube. That'll be an end of the show shout out. And then I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts.
Yes, even though we don't have a newsletter yet, maybe we will one day. Thanks for listening. On today's show, we'll talk about the Guardians and Rangers series ahead. It's a crucial one for Cleveland if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. We'll talk about some prospects who are promoted and some prospects who once had bright futures that are no longer with the organization. But of course, we start with the prospect everybody is hoping has the brightest future, and when that future might start, hopefully might be sooner. Yes, obviously Tugboat. Before we get into all that, today's episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip or two to any golf tournament in the U.S. Visit the number 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Well, the Guardian season will not go to October 31st, 2025, but hopefully it's happening in October. And one of those guys, Jeff, should he be there, is Travis Bazzana. We've been talking about this all week. We've been saying this is a different conversation. We talked about will or won't the Guardians call up Travis Bazzana in September. The real question we want to get into today is should they? There are a myriad of reasons, maybe why they should, maybe why they shouldn't. We're going to get into that today. I think everybody kind of liked it. Jeff, we got a little spicy yesterday on here with our talk about Daniel Schneemann, David Fry. Ironic that we had a fun heated back and forth on that among two players who can't do anything well against left-handed pitching. So we were arguing about who's the driving the slowest Ferrari,
who's the least effective.
That's the wrong. Who's driving the fastest Honda Odyssey? I don't know. I don't know the right now.
Who's got the fastest moped?
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Who's got the fastest? I said Ferrari. It'd be great if one of those guys was a Ferrari. Yeah, who's got the fastest moped? That's the equivalent of Schneemann and Daniel and David Fry this year against left-handed pitching. But the guy we're talking about today is Travis Bazzana, and I think we're going to be on different sides of the aisle here. I do think there is, Jeff, an argument that we should see Travis Bazzana in September. You don't think so? There's not a single argument you're going to buy on this.
I won't, honestly, because here's the thing. I appreciate what he's doing. I appreciate the approach. He's getting on base a lot, but so much of it is driven by high rock rate and passivity. And as we've seen with a lot of guys, that's not going to cut it. Like what he's doing right now isn't going to cut it. They need to work on him being more aggressive. They need to work on him not because if he's not hitting all the velocity now because he's kind of waiting back on it, like that's not things to work on at the major league level. That's frankly something you need to work at the minor league level. So I love what he is doing. But right now, if most of your value is coming from walks, and I know he's doing better, I know it's not only walks, but when more than 50% of your valuation as a WRC plus is from walks, that is a recipe for failure. Just full stop. Now, I'm not saying he is going to be a failure, but trying to have that navigate up, walk rates don't transfer. Like they don't transfer to the major league level. And he's got to work on his approach because while it's a good approach, he doesn't expand, he doesn't do this. He's a little too passive for me. So I think right now, the things you want to have him work on are best worked on at the level he is at.
Yeah, I do think there are still some things he needs to work on at AAA, and I think what we've seen at every stop so far from Bazzana when he got to Lake County, and then when he got to Akron to start the season, he had a good little start. And then what he's doing at AAA, he always has this feeling out period where he sees pitches a lot, he doesn't take a lot of swings, and it looks like he's struggling. And then he makes an adjustment and he turns it on. He got comfortable with the tracking pitches, the background. I think Travis Bazzana is very intentional. I'm wondering, yes, he's a passive hitter, but I'm also wondering if this is part of his larger plan when he's settling in at a new level. Because again, I've seen this at every level so far. In Lake County, he did start off very passive, and it wasn't like he got aggressive ever. I don't know if he got aggressive enough even to come out of the passive stages, but he started hitting the ball because he started seeing what pitches were going to be called strikes. He started seeing what guys were going to throw him. He was getting used to the visual backdrops, a new stadium. Same thing in Akron. It's been the same thing in Columbus. So once he gets his bearings, that's when you start to see him kind of take the next step and start to swing a little bit more. And he had a really good game on Wednesday night in Columbus. He only had one hit, but he got robbed of another one on a great play. He hit a 400-foot ball to center field in Columbus, which is the only part of that ballpark that doesn't play friendly to hitters. So he really should have had 3 hits, including maybe 2 or 3 extra base hits. And I'm not saying that he's going to have that every game, but I do think he's getting better with pitch selection. And you're right. That's one of those things that he could stay in AAA and work on. But here's the thing. I don't think he's going to get better by seeing AAA pitching. Like, there are adjustments he has to make. I do think there's something to be said about making them at the big league level. The first question is this. Do you want Travis Bazzana to be a part of this team next season? Do you want him being a part of a team next season that has intentions of winning the American League Central, and I hope to God more?
I mean, of course, I don't think the 1 month makes a difference at the big league level.
Yes, I'm not saying 1 month does, but the whole argument I have here for him coming up in September is getting his feet wet, getting those first out of the way in September, because you are going to preserve his rookie eligibility at the very least. And I know we've talked about how this team doesn't really seem to care about the extra draft pick that might be associated. Right. So I'm not saying they have to do that, but I'm saying you bring him up in September, you let him. You can't do.
So then we can't see him till July, because then they have to navigate the Super 2 even more. So then we get even less Travis Bazzana next year if you call him up now.
Well, I think there's a good chance you might not do that anyway. I think if you
they're 100%, they're not going to let him break camp with the team. I hate to be that. They're not going to. They haven't cared about that at all. 1 iota with any player. Yeah, unless there is a contract in place. But the reason you bring him up now, again, I do think there's an argument to be said of getting his feet wet now, getting him in the clubhouse with the rest of the guys, getting comfortable in the big league setting, kind of like what they did with Bo Naylor in 2022. Now, I know it's not the same because Bo Naylor had to be out of the 40-man roster, and Travis Bazzana does not. And this is kind of a guy you want to be careful about when you start the clock. But then again, next year, if you push the service time, you're going to get into age 30 season, which might be great, but it might hinder your chances of getting a contract done with him if that's something you want to do. And I do think there's a reason to bring up September as an incentive to get him to sign a deal before he hits arbitration. I don't think any deal is going to get done. Let's be real honest. It's an impossibility.
I'm not saying I have high hopes.
He got so much money as the first overall pick. He has no need, and he won't. He's got to make as much money and be as big of a star as he can for Australia. He's not taking less. He's not doing. There's no extension coming for Travis Bazzana ever.
Well, that was cold water on the entire show. Thanks for listening. Everybody have a great weekend. Make sure you go step on your dog crap in the backyard. Don't clean it up, because that's the kind of mood Jeff's in today.
And it's just the truth of it. He has no incentive. When you get an $8 million signing bonus, there's no incentive to sign it. If you believe in yourself, there's no incentive to sign a contract.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there are arguments to the fact that he won't.
I know Bobby Witt did, but you got to give a contract like Bobby Witt, and they're not going to give a contract like Bobby Witt's.
Right, because high school, we talked this before, high school players are a little bit different. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about whether or not the Guardians should call up Travis Bazzana again. Not will they, should they? We'll get into more of that and other prospects who have moved on and who are moving up next. Well, it might be baseball season, but it's also time to fuel up and turn up with 5-hour energy transfusion. Grape, ginger, lime. That flavored shot brings the iconic taste of the golf course to your favorite non-alcoholic boost. It's perfect for sinking birdies or making good memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game, too. So if you're out on the course, you need that little extra push to get you through the day. In the dog days of August, 5-hour energy transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. If I golf, it's a long day. I got to tell you, I'm not a good golfer, but when I have, it's been a very long day because I'm slow. And hopefully, if anybody playing with me, we are playing closest to the pin. We are playing scramble. That's just what it is. Even playing scramble, it's a long day with me. So I'm going to need some energy. Whoever I'm playing with needs some energy. We want to have a good time. That's what golf is all about. And it's all about good flavors too. Grape, ginger, lime flavor. The 5-hour energy transfusion gives you the best parts of the clubhouse go to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart, always moving around. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter a chance to win a dream golf trip for two. It's any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit the number 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st. All right, Jeff, you already threw cold water on most of my arguments. The other thing I was going to say about the contract thing with Travis Bazzana is this: if there is any small chance of doing that, if you push him all the way back to July, his birthday is in August, so he'll be 23 next season. He'll play most of next year at age 22. I'm sorry, age 23. He'll be 24 next July. He turns 23 next week, actually. 7 years gets him to age 31. He's going to want to hit the market right away, I think, as a free agent. If you get him up, if you're not bringing him up until he's 23 or until he's 24 years old, it's going to be hard to convince him to sign that contract, I think. It's going to be, okay.
He's not signing. There's no convincing.
Tell me it's, okay, tell me, let's just operate on the assumption there is.
What college player who was taken in the top 5 is signed an extension? The answer would be 0.
Yeah.
None. It's only the prep guys. There's no one who has signed it who's been a college player that I can think of since like Ryan Zimmerman, maybe. Like it just doesn't happen. Like it's operating from a false assumption.
The later you bring him up, though, I'm saying I think your odds go. I mean, you're saying the odds are 0. I'm saying the odds are low, but not 0. I think even if they're low, you're doing yourself a disservice because the later you bring him up, the less he's going to want to sign that deal because he's going to want to get to free agency sooner or get that money locked in. And if you're delaying his service time, that's going to piss him off. Let's just be honest. That's the kind of guy Travis Bazzana is. He does not want that kind of stuff. Even though he's very intentional about his development plan.
They don't care. Let's be very honest. They don't care. He's going to be delayed because that's how it works. They're going to try to maximize, especially after what happened with losing that extra year for Tanner and then losing that negotiating position. But it's like you literally can't find a guy who was signed a contract extension who was a top 5 pick who was a college player. Like we should just move on and forget about it. It's not there. It's not going to happen. Like unfortunate as it is, and I know people don't like hearing that. And I was wrong about Jose. Maybe I could be wrong here, but like I said, I can't. Your top 5 guys. Bregman, Dansby Swanson. Oh, no extensions recently, right? Like it doesn't happen with guys taking the top 5 who are successful. If he is successful, he's going to free agency. And he doesn't need to sign a cheap contract because he got $8 million. So he's not going to sign. He's not going to do a Churio. He's not going to do anything. There is not a successful example of a top 5 college player in the last decade who was signed an extension. So like, there's no reason for them to even, take that into consideration because it's just not part of the calculus. It's not going to happen. There's not an extension that's going to happen. He's going to hit free agency. You're moving on from there. I mean, the only top 5 guy I can find who really even signed an extension was Bobby Witt. And at the time he hadn't broken out yet. Like in some respects, Casey got lucky with how well that has worked out. But I mean, no one else has signed. Like I said, you have to really, I went back to 2012 and there isn't one. So you're not getting an extension. That's over a decade. So there's no reason to worry about that. So, and they know that they're better at research than I am. So they're going to operate with, hey, it's best to try to get 7 years instead of 6. That's the 7th year with Travis Bazzana at age 31 is more valuable than the 33rd pick in the draft. So they're going to operate under. So the incentive to call him up is less, because then it means you get him for less of next year.
Yeah. Well, I think if you don't call him up in September of this year, it means you're not going to have him up out of spring training, like you said.
No,
I mean, you're saying it's not going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
But if you don't come up in September, I think that those odds go down to 0 too. So that's what I'm saying. If you said, okay, we want Travis Bazzana to be on the team opening day next year because that's what we think our best team is, and we think he's ready. If you don't, I think if you don't bring him up in September, I think that's a wasted shot, because ideally you'd like to get some of these things out of the way in September if you want him to have a chance to make the team out of spring training. That's why I'm not saying will they, I'm saying should they. If their intention was, let's just say, to have him on the team at opening day 2026, then they should bring him up in September, right? But let's just operate like that's the assumption. Am I right, at least?
I don't know.
Because the whole Jeff is should they, not will they. Should they?
Here's the other issue. Like, before we get one, so if you want to know, the last top 5 college guy to sign an extension was Buster Posey, who's now a GM. So that tells you how long ago that was. But here's the second point to why they shouldn't. He has only ever played second base. Right now, second base is arguably one of their strongest positions. Like, Rocchio is playing well. He's playing well offensively, defensively. He has the third best WRC plus in August. Like, if you're calling him up, you're going to have him DH. You already got Manzardo there, who has your best. Like, there's not a natural spot for him in this lineup. You're not going to call him up and be like, okay, go play right field, because you got Kafis who's playing well. Like, there isn't. You're going to call him up and start that service time clock just to have him ride the bench? No, because he also needs to get reps. He needs to sit there and work on that approach, because we said there's some things to do. So even from a logical point of view, there's just no point to him right now on this roster the way it's currently constructed, because he's going to play twice a week. No, let him go play in AAA.
Yeah, I think the playing time is the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest argument to me, is the playing time and the development piece of it. I think A, defense is the thing he has to work on. B, I want to see him. He's not pulling the ball in the air the way he did in college, and that's what made him so successful with the power. So I think those are things he has to get back to doing in AAA, and those are things you can't do when you're sitting up in the major leagues. And that's why, if I were them, I would send him to the Arizona Fall League this September or this October. I would send him to the Arizona Fall League.
Yeah,
that's where he should be. Yeah, that's where he should be. All right, we talked a little about that. Let us know in the comments what you think. I think defense and playing time and ironing some things out are the reasons not to call him up in September. But just know, if they don't do that, he's not going to be on the team at opening day, and you're going to be waiting until next July to see Travis Bazzana in Cleveland. But you'll get an extra half a year out of him, I guess. So anyway, Jeff, we promised to talk about some players who have been let go from the organization. I want to talk about Josh Hartle real quick and him being called up to Akron. We'll talk about that next. Talk about some guys who have been let go after that, and then we'll end the show talking about the Rangers series this weekend. That is a big one for Cleveland, so stick around for that. Thanks for making us your first listen today, every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. Make sure you're, as always, auto-downloading on any of your audio platforms. It's the best way to get us into your feed every day so you don't miss an episode, and it helps support the show a ton, as well as hitting the bell on YouTube so you get all the episodes. You get reaction videos, breaking news videos, maybe a video I do for when Travis Bazzana gets called up, or the MLB Squad show that comes into your feed every Friday, including today. This doesn't take away from that Josh Hartle has earned the call up to Akron. We've been talking about whether or not when it's going to happen, because it needed to happen. He hasn't allowed an earned run since July 12th. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight starts, 31 straight innings pitched where he hasn't allowed an earned run. It is kind of a bummer, though, that the door opened for him to go to Akron because Dylan DeLucia went on the IL with an elbow sprain. I hate hearing that for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy we talked about who they probably have to Rule 5 add this offseason. And one of
they want to keep him.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, they got a lot of great pitching in that draft with Messick and DeLucia and Peterson, but also a lot of injuries. When you look at DeLucia's health and you look at Campbell's health, and was that the Zibin draft as well? Like,
was that all 22? Yeah.
was that? I think it was all 20. So it's been a mix of interesting arms and injuries. It sucks for DeLucia because he's had a really nice bounce back year.
He has. Yorman Gomez had a great game on Thursday night too, and we don't have time to talk about him today. But Yorman Gomez is getting super interesting as the year goes on too, and he's also Rule 5 eligible, by the way. So that's another guy that you might want to start.
It's like
putting
8 guys on that list.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting conversation as we go on. But congrats to Josh Hartle going to Akron. I'm supposed to see him Friday in Lake County. I will be in Lake County Friday, but he's going to go to Akron and pitch now, and he definitely deserves it. And hey, all your hopes for the Andre Jimenez trade now rest on, or I guess if you want to go back further, the Francisco Lindor trade, all of your hopes now rest on Josh Hartle. And
you still got Mitchell and Kennedy, Michael Kennedy too.
There is Kennedy. He hasn't been as good as I would like this year. Nick Mitchell's okay. He's interesting. He's actually doing a lot better in Lake County. He started off kind of slow. He's gotten a lot better. But Josh Hartle's the guy that, now is kind of you're putting your hopes on, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, because he's pitched well, but.
Because I am me, I just got to make this final addendum on our Bazzana discussion. So the last college guys to sign an extension, this is our complete list of 3. It is, I mentioned Buster Posey, then it's Evan Longoria, and then it's Ryan Zimmerman and Ryan Braun in was this 2005?
Those all worked out great. Those all worked out great, by the way.
They did, but those are the last grouping. We're talking 20 years plus to get to 4 dudes.
Those guys were all Golden Spikes winners too. I know Buster Posey was. He was the Johnny Bench winner.
Well, Braun and Zimmerman couldn't be because they were the same draft. They were back-to-back Ryans, 4th and 5th.
Oh, okay. Those guys were all fantastic players too. So
and Alex Gordon that year too. I lied, Alex Gordon, but Gordon was a guy that took a while to figure it out. But you all said Gordon, so I missed that.
He did.
Fault. But we got to talk about some massive disrespect from the Cleveland Guardians organization in terms of some of these releases.
What do you want to start with?
Can I start with the one that's the massive disrespect? So they released Abrahanan Milan and then misspelled his name in the release notes. Like, bad enough when you're cutting a player. And listen, he's I want to give him a shout out because they put an M in there and it's an N, and then they didn't even bother to correct it. 19-year-old kid who barely pitched this year with Antib Goral, barely pitched the year before that, was a low bonus guy out of Cuba, but still at least get his name right. Like that was
Speaking
one that
of Cuban prospects, by the way, for Cleveland, they now have 2 guys they signed from Cuba in the last couple of years now that have decided to take their bonus money and go back home. There was the another Roberto Hernandez, not Foster Carmona. Then there was another kid from, I think, last year's class from Cuba who also decided to go back home and not play with the organization. So they've had 2 guys. They might not be going to Cuba a lot more from anybody at this point, the way it's going.
I'll go through the DSL guys super quick, and then we can get to the interesting ones. Daryl Arias was let go. He's only, I believe, 19, over $100,000 signing bonus. So he was a pretty big signing bonus for them. A few years ago as a 17-year-old kid, has really not produced. I could not get much on Roberto Vasquez, who was 21 and still in the DSL. That's just probably a matter of age. Eric Padilla is another guy who was 21 and still in the DSL. Romer Tavares was another guy. He got $135,000. So he was a pretty big bonus guy. Only 18. They often don't cut guys at 18, but the stat lines are pretty bad for him. Carlos Lopez, I did not find much on. It's the unfortunate of a common name. I got to talk about Nomar Velasquez, because the funny thing here is you were like, I don't have anything on any of these DSL guys. Velasquez is another 100,000 plus bonus guy. And I've got this nice report on him that he's been one of the most impressive DSL performances in the organization this season, with a 295 batting average, a 757 OPS over 38 games, up and down career, and played as a 20-year-old. So that is this year from you.
Okay. When did I say that?
This is from next year in Cleveland. This was from let's see, what was the date on the 8/18/8/19. So this month. It's probably
Art. That might not.
It's Arthur and Matthew. Yeah, it was not you. Yeah. I'm sorry. So but Nomar was another $100,000 bonus guy who they're letting go. Rodnari Salvador, I thought he was a bigger guy than he was. Another 20-year-old who's struggling with limited opportunities. Sebastian De Los Santos, is interesting from the perspective of he was cut last January by the Orioles. Cleveland signed him, and he spent this half a year in their DSL as well, kind of more of a depth guy, but you don't see them adding a lot of 19-year-olds and cutting them. So just a quick shout out to those players. Not as big of a name, but a few guys who got, 100 6-figure bonuses are not something they give away lightly. So, when you're still in the DSL and you're over 20, your clock is pretty much done. And if you're producing at a very low level as well.
Yeah, here's some other names that have gotten released since we've last done this. We usually like to give these guys a shout out.
Yeah,
and their day in the sun because they didn't make it here. But Luis Frias was here. He was kind of Emmanuel Clase lookalike. And hey, now they can go hang out and not playing baseball together. I'm sorry, he looked more like, well, it was Clase. It was Frias, Ortiz, and Clase all look the same. So with that long,
and he had made the big leagues with the Angels right in the past.
Yeah,
or was it Arizona? Maybe it might have been Arizona, but he had at least
Arizona. Big leagues. Yeah. Jake Canchia let go. He was signed this offseason as a defensive specialist catcher, and moving up Cooper Engel made him expendable. Sean Rapp, this is probably the first big one on the list. Sean Rapp, I really thought had a chance to be a really tough lefty at the back of the bullpen. Unfortunately, had some elbow injuries and just never really regained control or consistency. But I was really excited about him being a kind of a back end lefty that had a really funky arm angle and could run up to the mid 90s. So UNC kid, hopefully he'll catch on somewhere else. He's a lefty who throws like 94, 95. I think he'll catch on somewhere else.
Agreed. I really liked him. I thought he was going to be one of those really strong, I think he was a 10th rounder. He was like a senior sign, but I was like, he's better than the typical senior sign.
Yeah. Robert Wagelnick, he was here kind of briefly this year. He was a undrafted free agent, I think last year, 2 years ago. Just a lot of interesting stuff, but no idea where to go. And it got hit really hard. And then there's Dwayne Matos, who was here briefly. He was a minor league signing. Ezekiel Jimenez, I don't have much on. Jeff. Mason Bolivar was one of those guys in the DSL that should teach you that DSL numbers mean absolutely nothing, because he hit 281, 391, walked more than he struck out as a 16-year-old in the DSL. Never had a home run in his minor league career and struck out a ton as a 17 and 18-year-old in Arizona. So he didn't strike out at all in the DSL, came over here, just could not make contact, could not hit for power, could not draw walks. So buyer beware of DSL stats. Yeah. He only got released at the age of 19, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jimenez is 22 and he got up to rookie league, so he got a little bit further than the rest.
And here are the big names. So Mason Hickman, 2020 draft, 5th round pick. I really thought they were going to, this was a time we thought Cleveland was great at adding velocity to everybody. And I was like,
yeah,
if this guy, if they had this guy hitting 92, 94, he was going to be a starter, some kind of reliever. Huge guy, big curveball, had, good control. Just, the velocity never came. And eventually he got to AAA and the command just didn't stick with him and got hit hard. He ran out of time. That's just how it goes sometimes. This is why I'm always wary when Cleveland takes a Vanderbilt kid, just saying.
Yeah, I thought for sure, because they've been so good at adding velocity. He added no velocity, and Vanderbilt wasn't great at development. Let's be kind of honest. And he had been Vanderbilt's best pitcher. And then, he was
the Friday starter that year.
He was. And then he had good numbers. He had good secondary offerings. He had command and control. It's like he just needs to improve his fastball. I'm like, this team is great at adding velocity. Back when I thought that was 90% of fastballs before I learned better. And I thought he had the chance to be the steal of the draft for them. I really honestly thought he had the chance to be the steal of the draft. And, I got that one wrong.
Turns out it was Cade Smith.
Yeah.
Andrew Misiazik is a guy you and I liked for quite a while as a funky lefty. He's another guy. This is another cautionary tale of Tommy John doesn't fix everybody. He had Tommy John. I feel bad for him and Nick Mikulajic. We'll group them in together. Both these guys were so close to the big leagues. Like, they were literally, I would say, months away. I think Misiazik was on the 40, where Mikulajic was on the 40, but one of them was on the.
I don't know if either of them were actually added. I don't think either of them were ever.
But these guys,
these
guys were months away from making the major leagues. Came down with elbow problems, and ever since they came back from Tommy John, neither of them were the same. They couldn't throw strikes. Their stuff was gone. The velocity wasn't there. Misiazik didn't have a lot of velocity to begin with. But like Nick Mikulajic, to me, I thought was a future closer. It's just, again, everything you say, go get the Tommy John surgery, get it fixed. It doesn't always work. Neither of these guys were the same after Tommy John. It's really a bummer because they were literally months away from the big leagues.
Nick Mikulajic in particular, he was one of the hidden guys in the system. He was an 11th round pick, I want to say, which is a targeted round. And we heard about him in the spring, and he was hitting 99 or 100. And he was I had him as the number 11 rated prospect in the system. like Fangraphs and other places, I think even had him in the top 10. He was the next can't miss relief prospect after that wave with 99 and Kyle Nelson and Sandlin. This was the next guy. And he struggled a little bit. He had one of those off years in AAA. And then after that struggle, he got hurt, and then he just wasn't the same. It's just really unfortunate on the whole. Again, he was the highest rated by far of anyone on this group of prospects to me. He was the guy who, I mean, across the board, everyone really thought that this guy by now would be, you know, at least a 7th inning guy for the Guardians.
Yeah, and then Mike Capri is obviously their big name too, first baseman, outfielder. Again, I thought Cleveland unearthed a gem here from a D2 school. Olivia Nazarene, I think that's NAI. I don't know if that's even D2 or whatever it was, but we thought he was developing late power. He had Tommy John surgery. He had some injury issues, and we thought he was going to be a late developer. And he had some breakout stuff in Akron and AAA, and unfortunately, time just ran out on him too, with the Guardians all of a sudden developing corner infield bats. So he was also a little bit older too.
Yeah, he was a 24-year-old, and we made allowances because he had kind of a delayed path at Akron. But once he got to AAA, it was just kind of ugly the whole way around, unfortunately. For him.
Nice kid, nice family, by the
way.
Yeah,
and like really good bloodlines. Isn't like a grandpa was
his
dad, very famous scout.
Yeah, his grandpa was, I think, started the MLB Scouting Bureau. And his dad played for the Yankees briefly. His brother, I think, played for the Yankees briefly. Like, it's a long baseball lineage. So even if he doesn't ever play in the majors, he will eventually probably have a job in baseball if he wants it, just because of the family name. But nice kid, very nice kid, nice family. I talked to him a lot of times when he was in the minors. All right, bummer to those guys to see him go, but hey, they made it further than a lot of us ever hoped we could, and hopefully the dream will continue for them at some point. Let's wrap up on Guardians Rangers this weekend. You got Slade Ciccone, Nathan Eovaldi. That's going to be tough. Eovaldi's really good. Logan Allen, Jack Leiter. Jack Leiter has been better since he came back this year. That's going to be a tough matchup as well. And you got Gavin Williams and Merrill Kelly. The Rangers, they can pitch. They can't hit. They just lost Marcus Semien to an injury. He's not been hitting much this year. Corey Seager struggles a little bit this year. Their lineup is a big reason why they are not in the playoff race right now. The Guardians, though, could say the same thing. Their lineup is also the reason they're not in the playoff race. But this will be an interesting series. And if the Guardians want to keep their playoff hopes alive, they have to win this series. I almost want to say sweep, but that seems a little bit unfair. But this is the Rangers team has a lot of great names who are just not performing. This is a roster that, on paper should be better, and it's not. So this is going to be another tough series for them. Luckily, they missed Jacob deGrom.
It's a team on the skids. You got to take advantage of that. Thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate it. I'll have to save the shout outs for Monday as we went long on time, giving everyone their moment in the sun. Thank you for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps. And go Guardians, go.